Happy Monday morning to you guys. I hope you guys had a good weekend. Um, so we're just going to dive on into some more science today. This week, we're going to be focusing in on those Georgia regions. Um, Before we left, we were talking about, we've already covered the coastal plains. We've covered the Piedmont region, which, if you remember, that's also where we live. And we were starting to touch a little bit on the Blue Ridge Mountains. So this week we're going to learn about some new regions we haven't talked about yet, and we're going to review some regions that we already have talked about. I hope you guys enjoyed your activity on Friday. And like I said, if you want to send pictures to your teachers, I would just love to see what you guys came up with, and hope you enjoyed that. So let's dive on in. You're going to need your textbook today. And we'll start on page 243. So I'll give you a second to get there. So our focus is, what are some Georgia plants and animals, and how can we protect them? So what's really cool is what we're learning about right now. We're learning about the place where we live. We're learning about plants and animals that live in our own backyard, and the difference we can make in our own communities to help these plants and animals, live and thrive and be successful. So I really enjoy learning about things that I could actually go out and see if I were to go on a walk. So let's see, it says, engage your brain. Find the answer to the following question in this lesson and record it here. So as we're reading, these are some things that we can focus on. Where in Georgia do black bears live, and how can we protect them? Again, we want to go back to thinking of ways we can protect plants and animals. All right, then it says active reading. List the terms as you read, make notes about them in the interactive glossary. So they're going to be the bold words that we're going to be seeing in today's lesson. Here's the biggest thing that we'll be focusing on today. Comparing and contrasting. How are things alike? That means compare. And how are they different? Contrast. So this is also going to be somewhat of a reading lesson, because today at the end of the pages that we're reading, we're going to be thinking about how two regions are similar and different. So you want to focus in on how things are alike and how they are not alike. So let's go on over to the next page. So again, at the end of today's lesson, let's just go ahead and scroll down. Oh, it didn't show up for you. Okay, if you go on the Piedmont page, page 245, it cut off on my screen, but at the bottom of this page, about right here, there's a box that said, how is the Blue Ridge Mountain region similar to the Piedmont region, and how is it different? So again, I like that we already know what we're looking for. So while we're reading together, you know what your purpose is today. You know your purpose is to think about how these two are similar and different. That's what you really want your brain to focus on. That's what you want to draw your attention to. Okay? So while we're reading, think about that. If you want to read this to yourself, you can pause this video, go for it. If not, you can follow along with me. Here we go. Blue Ridge Mountains. The land that makes up Georgia is classified into 5 areas called the geographic regions. 2 of them are the Blue Ridge Mountains and the Piedmont. What plants and animals are found in these regions? I'm going to go ahead and read this caption to this picture. It says, forests cover most of the Blue Ridge Mountain region. So it's telling us that there's going to be a lot of trees that are in this region. And I can already predict there's probably going to be a lot of birds in this area. Squirrels. Those are some things that I know like to live in foresty areas. Let's keep reading. The Blue Ridge Mountains region is covered mostly with forests. The region has deep valleys with steep sides called canyons. It also has many lakes, rivers, and waterfalls. This region is cooler and wetter than many of Georgia's other regions. Winters are cold and summers are mild. And we talked about that word mild means, I think about, honestly, I think about ordering hot wings. As crazy as that sounds. I don't like my wings to be too hot because, so when I go to the wing place, I usually get them mild, which means I want them to have a little bit of spice, but not too much. So they're not too hot, but they're also not wimpy. They're in between. They're mild. So that word means that the summers aren't too hot, but they're also, you don't have cold weather either. So I would say in between like 70s and 80s. Winters are cold, summers are mild. Some areas can receive over 80 inches of rain each year. We probably got more than that this year. Plants that grow in this region include oak trees, hickory trees, magnolia trees, shrubs, and grasses. Animals include black bears, bobcats, deer, beaver, warblers, wild turkeys, salamanders, and trout. Animals that live in the higher mountains must be able to survive cold temperatures and windy conditions. I'm reading the caption with this bird. It says, many kinds of animals, like this warbler, live in the Blue Ridge Mountain region. All right. So on this page, we learned all about the Blue Ridge. We're going to start talking about the Piedmont. And again, remember, we're trying to think about how they're similar and how they're different. So let's think about that while we're reading. Piedmont. The Piedmont region in Georgia is south of the Blue Ridge Mountains region. It is made of low rolling hills and flat areas of land with few trees. Lakes, slow-moving rivers, and waterfalls are all found throughout the region. Hint, hint, that was some really good information to help us later on. Winters are cool and summers are hot. The region receives about 50 inches of rain each year. Again, we probably got more than that this year. Oak trees, hickory trees, pine trees, dogwood trees, and wildflowers are some of the plants that grow in the Piedmont region. That has some good information that might help me later on too. Animals include, I know that word looks like it says opossums, but the O is silent. That word's actually possums. River otters, beavers, deer, raccoons, owls, hawks, and eagles. I heard some things that sounded similar to the Blue Ridge Mountain in that paragraph. All right, let's read the captions to these pictures. The first one says, many kinds of trees and other plants grow in the Piedmont region. Raccoons are one kind of animal that lives in the Piedmont region. They hunt for food at night. So again, guys, when we're done with today's lesson, I want you to go into that box on page 245, and you should be able to tell me one or two things that are similar and one or two things that are different about this region. Go back in, underline things that you see, circle it. Maybe you say, I'm going to draw a line under things that are similar, and I'm going to circle things that are different. All right. The next thing I'm about to show you, it's not in your textbook. I was just giving you some information on an animal that lives in the Blue Ridge Mountains, and this particular animal is the black bear. And we've been looking at how animals adapt, and that means how they're able to fit in, and sometimes having to change to be able to survive. So let's look and see what it says. It says, perhaps the best adaptation of American black bears is their ability to eat a wide variety of foods. This adaptation enables the bear to survive in a wide variety of habitats through North America, as well as survive near human populations if necessary. You guys, funny story. I didn't know that black bears could live near the beach. You know, honestly, I thought it's got to be way too hot for them to live there. But every year I go down to my grandparents. They live in Florida. And on one side of the road, you have a beautiful view of the ocean. You're just driving right beside the ocean. And on the other side, it's literally nothing but forest and trees, forest. And I find it really funny that there's a sign that says, watch for black bears crossing the road. So these creatures, these bears, they literally can live anywhere, which again is a good adaptation for them. But I thought it was funny that they live down in Florida. I imagine them just hanging out on the beach every now and then. It says American black bears can hibernate to a certain degree during the winter months if the temperature drops low enough. During this time, bears' heart rate will slow and they will sleep for long periods of time. It is important to note that people should not approach bears at any time, even when it may appear that they are in hibernation state. So notice that word, it says they'll hibernate if the temperatures are low enough. You know, bears don't necessarily always have to hibernate. It just depends on what type of winter you're having. Their body and their instinct tells them to get prepared for it, but they might not always have to hibernate. All right, and the last thing we're going to look at today is in the Blue Ridge Mountain. This is also where we find the highest point in Georgia. It's called Breasttown Bald, and that just means that is the highest place in Georgia that you can go to. So it's the highest up. So yeah, this is also, I put a picture here somewhere where you can visit. I can imagine just being right here, the highest point in Georgia, especially in the fall. It would be beautiful to see the beautiful forest surrounding that. So I'm gonna post some videos for you guys on the Blue Ridge Mountains for you guys to enjoy. I hope you're enjoying those videos. Again, you don't have to watch those, but if you're wanting to know more, that's why I've been adding them in, just so it can give you something to watch if you want more information. I've kind of dug through some stuff to find some cool resources, so you can watch those if you'd like. Your assignment today, make sure you're doing the compare and contrast on page 245. And tomorrow we're going to be looking at the coastal plains and valley and ridge. See you guys tomorrow. Bye.